Hello, my name is Enzo Ye. I'm a physical therapist, and today I'm going to show you how to do a real-time rehab routine for tennis elbow. You can follow along if you want to. First, I like to start with warming up the tissue, prepping it for some massaging, and prepping it also for stretching. So the best way to help the muscles relax is heat. We're going to use a heating pad for this purpose. I have a microwavable heating pad put into the microwave as per instruction on the heating pad by the manufacturer. After it's done, I put it over my lateral epicondyle, lateral elbow. Let it warm for a couple minutes. In the clinic, we generally recommend 15 to 20 minutes of heat, but as long as it relaxes the muscles, that's all we need. If you want, you can also cover the whole heating pad over the entire back of the forearm. That way, those areas get to relax as well. Next, I'm going to massage the area. I want to massage everything on the dorsal side of the forearm, wrist, and hand, because the wrist and finger extensors attach to the lateral epicondyle, which is the spot that's inflamed. I like to start with the hand because it's usually the least sensitive. As you work your way up, the wrist, forearm, and elbow becomes more and more sensitive if you have tennis elbow. I massage the wrist gently and work out those extensors with my thumb, and then the wrist, and then the forearm, and then finally the elbow. If you can tolerate it, you can do a little circular movement or a little cross friction movement when you get to the lateral epicondyle. And now I'm going to stretch the forearm. We want to stretch the wrist extensors because those tendons attach to the lateral epicondyle. When you have tennis elbow, the entire forearm, all the wrist extensors are going to be tight to release the tension in those tendons, and therefore release the tension in the lateral epicondyle. This is a good way to release just by stretching. So we're going to do a wrist flexion stretch. So this will stretch your wrist extensors. We can start with a dynamic stretch, just using the other hand to assist with the movement and do a back and forth movement. The benefit of this is that it is not as painful as a static stretch, and it allows the blood flow to warm the muscles even further. So after about 10 repetitions, if you can tolerate it, you can do a static hold. This is more effective than a dynamic stretch to increase flexibility in the tendon. If you don't feel a stretch with this, you can do a composite wrist and finger flexion stretch. So this is much more advanced. You use the other hand again to support the right hand and fingers and keep them in this light grip. So don't grip very hard for this. You're gonna move your wrist into flexion gently and do a dynamic stretch again. This is more gentle, and after about 10 repetitions, again, if you can tolerate it, you can go into a static hold. If you catch a tennis elbow early on enough, all you have to do is to release tension in your forearm, your wrist. It should slowly get better from there. However, if you have been avoiding the use of your arm because you don't want it to hurt, so you stop using your arm altogether, there is a possibility that you'll have a dramatic loss of strength in your hand, wrist, and forearm. In this case, you may need to do some wrist and forearm strengthening. A couple of exercises that you can do for wrist strengthening. The main one is going to be to strengthen your wrist extensors. You can do this either with a dumbbell or a resistance band. So you rest your forearm and wrist on your leg or a table, and then the whole hand angle at the edge. This will allow for wrist movement. You use your foot as an anchor for the resistance band, so it gives you that tension in the resistance band for your wrist to work against. There's two different ways you can strengthen your wrist here. You can strengthen your wrist in a concentric way, which is just moving your wrist up and down against the resistance, or you can strengthen your wrist in an eccentric way, which is you use your other hand to help the wrist into extension, and then let the affected wrist slowly come down to flexion, nice and controlled, very slowly. You're still using the same muscles to strengthen the wrist extensors. This way, it doesn't contract as forcefully as a concentric strengthening exercise would. Another thing you can do is you can strengthen your wrist supinator, because supinator also attaches to the lateral epicondyle. You may have trouble supinating your hand into a palm facing up position completely because of the weakness. This is something you can practice as well. You can do wrist supinator strengthening concentrically, just twisting the resistance band into supination, just back and forth. Or you can strengthen your supinators eccentrically by using the other hand again to assist the affected hand into supination, and then let go slowly so it turns back into pronation. So from palm up and let go, going to palm down position slowly. If you're in acute inflammation phase of a tennis elbow injury, you may want to control that inflammation first. If you don't control that swelling, that inflammation, everything you do in the rehab routine is going to be painful. So control that inflammation first before you do any of this routine. So how to control inflammation? Ice is great. Get an ice pack, put it over the inflamed area for a couple of seconds up to a couple of minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time, as long as you feel that it's getting cold and numb. That's all you need. After you control the inflammation, everything else is going to be easier. The massaging, the stretching, the strengthening will be much easier without the inflammation and without swelling.